Marc, maybe I'll start with you. So at T-Systems, for example, when you have a client come to you and say, my board has said generative AI is the future and I have to be on top of it. We've got to roll it out now. Let's put the chatbot in charge. What do you say to them? How do you ask them to think through the process of rolling something like that out?
Well, I think there are quite a few questions, and there's no doubt, as we said before, there's a big hype around generative AI today, and it's to understand really what are their reasons, what are they driving, do they understand really the capabilities or what generative AI may be able to help them in. So it's understanding their circumstance, what their needs are, and also explaining the potential benefits, but also risks of generative AI. So it begins a work of collaboration and consultative at first before really engaging and being able to not prescribe, but to identify the right solution for them.
What are some of the main pitfalls that you're seeing with planning this out?
I think when clients approach us, they have a general idea of what of generative AI is. One of the pitfalls that we have with generative AI is its ability to, well, it's the guardrails. What are the guardrails that you can put around generative AI? This will be extremely important. You don't, you know, it's and it has huge benefits for some of our clients that are very large, that have amassed massive amounts of data for various reasons. Whether it's well, mainly internal data. Generative AI can be very powerful at summarizing that data, identifying that data, finding that data. So it really improves the efficacy of work of their employees. But it's how do you put the guardrails in place to ensure the safety, but also when they start using it, or when they start using it, is their answers can then go into the system and also feed answers. So this can lead to the risks of false responses.
Are you happy with the guardrails that you're seeing for systems like OpenAI?
No, it's hard. I think it's a bit hard to say at this stage. Yeah. It's a bit early. Unfortunately, I hope it doesn't come to that, but it may be. The proof will be in the pudding. It will be. We'll have to see what happens. Some events may arise or may not. I think we need to be very cautious about it. We need to monitor it and see where it goes. We do the best we can. I think everybody will and is. I think one of the to really benefit from it is how far do you go with the guardrails. You don't want to go too far, but you have to go far enough. Mm-hmm. So, and then of course there's guardrails and other issues when you go across geographies, geographic boundaries, certain regulations of certain countries, or certain policies that you have to respect. So, sure. Get a little bit of flexibility there that has to come in.
And Kathleen, we talked about how you were thinking through this sort of automated process at Experian, where you've got a very data-rich business, but also very sensitive data.
That's right.
Can you tell us anything about how you've thought through that and how, you know, where the responsible line is for AI within your business?
Sure. We're very excited about the possibilities with generative AI. And the neat thing about generative AI is that AI, artificial intelligence, as a concept and as a technology is not new. And so what's new is the generative part, which is the natural language interface with AI. And so as we thought about that, where it's more of a conversation you're having with the data and with the technology, suddenly there's this democratization of who in the organization can leverage the technology. And how can we ensure that we continue to be responsible, ethical, compliant users of the technology and protecting the data that has been such a hallmark of what we've been known for so long. So it's trying to get that balance right, but we're very excited about what the future holds in terms of the use of this tech.
So within Experian, it seems like it would make the most sense potentially to train the AI on your own proprietary data. How do you then protect your data?
Yeah, so we're looking at a lot of technologies, and there are a number of companies in this space, dozens if not hundreds of new ones in fact, who are really focused on what is the capability to ensure that the generative AI is not causing some data leakage of proprietary data, or that the process by which these large language models that the AI is built upon, that they're not memorizing the training data. So there's methods, and we're exploring a number of third-party companies as well as some in-house techniques to figure out what will be the best way to leverage our internal data as well as third-party data to create the solutions that have the most impact.
I see. And of course, with automation, you may be able to redeploy employees or even get by with fewer employees. I promise I'm not going to put you on the spot, but BT is one of the companies that made headlines recently saying that AI automation could potentially let it operate in the future with a smaller workforce. How do you at BT balance the potential to automate roles with the expertise that you're getting from humans today? Can we all just get along, or is sort of getting by with a smaller workforce kind of the point for a lot of this?
Well, so we're actually using Gen AI and using AI and what automation can do for us, and work actually with the organization together. I give an example where we improve customer experience, focusing very much on how we better serve the customers, and where potentially call center agents, or roles for call center agents will disappear. We're investing quite a lot in retraining some of those, and we have quite some success, in actually becoming engineer and coders. Who better to code? Who actually knows what customers feel and what customers do. So it's not quite there's significant job losses at all. And I think if you listen to it was more around there is something in the horizon until 2030, so that's a long way out. And there is some churn in BT, believe it or not. So that will naturally happen. But there's a lot of investment in retraining people, in actually upskilling people to the skills and the technologies of the future, particular data science, engineering, coding, and so on. But I think overall, if you look at into the 80s, when the internet started, we didn't put it back in a box. It happened. It's here, it's there. Nobody's asking today for, a business case for the internet, whatever. It's here. It's an essential commodity. We strongly believe that that AI and Gen AI will be the same in the next few years. So I think, we better be on the front foot, to Kathleen's point, explore, how we make this work, and how we exploit the benefits for it, but doing very ethically. Not just from a data and data point, but also, how do we work with our colleagues? We believe it's not just something, that will help us improve, how we do things today. We need to take a step back and ask ourselves, what's a world of a customer service environment where customer service just happens? Colleague experience, you can improve the colleague experience dramatically. Nobody asks today, do you need Word or any other, similar program, it's just there. And that's what we believe, is going to happen over the next few years.
Now, it's an interesting point you made about retraining and finding the technical expertise. With AI, you hear about these astronomical salaries. They're compared to sort of NFL quarterbacks. Are you finding that to be a pain point, and how are you getting around sort of the high demand for people who know what they're doing with AI right now?
So, sorry, you mean how do we go around to astronomical salaries?
Yeah.
If you hear about where they are, let me know. But is that what you mean, or?
Yeah. How are you finding how are you all finding the employees with the know-how and the talent? Exactly.
Well, so first of all, there is there is more demand than there's talent out there. So what we've recently done, not recently, it's actually now over a year old, with the creation of the digital division in BT. We've also set up a digital campus. So we're working with a lot of institutions together. We actually train and develop people, but we're also going much stronger out into the market And if you look at, I mean, many of you that know BT, you know, like know it as a very as an institution with a lot of heritage. But I know BT, you know, it's somebody that today attracts people that, you know, like from AWS, from Microsoft, from Google, you know, like these are people today in the digital division that lead a lot of the development that we're doing. So we're attracting a bigger talent, you know, like in those areas, particularly when it goes into AI, data and AI, platform thinking, you know, like building marketplaces, and they attract people. So you know, like we develop, and we're going into the market and getting some of the leaders that bring people with them.
And Kathleen and Marc, how are you thinking through it?
Yeah, as we think about that talent, a lot of the AI type of talent we've had for a long time inside of Experian. So we've had that core and have been working for the better part of a decade toward advanced neural networks, embedded learning, AI and machine learning. So we have that core. But then this democratization capability that comes with AI, especially the most recent generative AI, is very exciting. And so instead of limiting the power of AI just to the data science teams and the analytics teams, there's an opportunity for all of us to see some benefit, some productivity that's going to help us do our jobs faster and perhaps with better quality in some cases, and in a way that frees up time from some of the maybe mundane tasks to those which allow us to do more creative problem solving or do more collaboration, I think, as Marc mentioned as well, so that we have the time to do that with a lot more at our fingertips that would have maybe taken more research in the past. So it's a little bit how we upskill everyone and get them comfortable to safely use the tech.
And Marc, I guess you have a slightly different ask of your staff since you're consulting with customers on it.
So, I'm sorry. So in our ask, I mean, in recruiting talent for artificial intelligence, I think we have, well, we're also part of the Deutsche Telekom group, so we have a very large group of internal already developers are working there, and like BT, it attracts quite a few people in mainland Europe to work. But what we've also done is we are forming multiple pools, multiple areas where we're growing actually our artificial intelligence talent. So we're about 650 now. I think we're growing it to several thousand, but we have centers in India, in Germany, in Spain, and in Eastern Europe and Slovakia. And we continue to grow that. So one is we're digging into multiple pools, different areas. But what we also do is we partner with universities. And we bring in talent that are they're still students, they work with us, so they go through summer programs. And so we can bring them on board and get them interested into the various programs that we work on artificial intelligence, and that actually touches to the earlier conversation, quantum as well, but I think that's a long way away. But it's really getting them interested in the wide scope of what AI is today, and it's absolutely massive. And so and while salary is, I think salaries have gone up because there's more demand than there is supply right now. A lot of the people joining us, the salary is not part of the question often. It's what are the projects we're working on? What are we doing? And they join for the interest, to be a part of basically the journey.
Got a maybe slightly related question from the audience. How do you see target operating models, people and process mostly, changing as a result of AI technologies such as process mining?
I mean, this is what I was referring to a little bit. You know, we need to reimagine, you know, like how our operating model is going to be in future, and that's what we actually do. That's what we're starting doing. We're starting looking at, you know, like how will we serve our customers? You know, like what are we going to do? How does engineering work today? You know, like if we develop a product applications, it takes some time. We already have some pilots running where we develop and where we engineer, where we code, using Code Whisperer, for example, where we run trials, where it happens within days, and the testing, you know, like happen, and the documentation happens along. Like sometimes it takes our engineers, like weeks or days, weeks, months in some instances, to do all the documentation, like to have proper documentation along with the coding. It all happens, like in the same moment, so that has a dramatic. It will be very disruptive to operating models overall, I believe. Like I said, I think it's not something for me, it's not only a discussion, should we do it, what are we going to do? It's more about, like, how do I be, like, how do I learn as much as possible about it? Like, how do I engage with colleagues, with the industries, like with customers around, so we actually maximize the outcome, the benefits of it. Because I think the benefits for Kathleen said already, for customer and customer experience, the benefits for our colleagues in process mining, like if you see, like where your process runs in a loop and goes back and forth, and you just fix it, like a lot of our colleagues give us feedback and say, like, if you ask them, are things done easy here? It's a large corporation, as you can imagine what the answer is sometimes. Like with things like this, you fix stuff easier because you know exactly where the problem is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we talked about the difficulty in finding technical expertise. Are there any other parts of the AI supply chain, I guess, that are particularly difficult right now?
I think as you undertake any kind of journey, I think a lot of us and a lot of corporations right now are in the midst of various kinds of transformations. We've been talking for a long time about the digital transformation of our businesses. And a lot of folks are wondering, am I doing that right? Am I getting the efficiencies I expected as the consumer goes more digital? And now here's AI. I don't want to be the last one to be doing AI or bringing it into my business. And so how do you get started around that? Like I said, I think the big difference now is that we can take AI out of the labs. And I think it behooves business leaders, team leaders to try the technology. Get to know it, understand a little bit about what it means to have a conversation with tech as opposed to having to write the code and execute it. What if the technology can do that for you? So I think it's helpful to think new ways about how we can engage with this technology and create a culture of innovation within our businesses to embrace that and give people some time and space to be able to get more comfortable, more familiar, and then there's going to be a lot of creativity about where it goes next.
Do you think that there is a risk that companies are overspending right now? And similarly, do you see the prospect of costs coming down over the next few years?
I think that companies right now have a lot of hype. There's been a number of questions today around what is the board pressuring you in terms of the use of this technology or desired magical outcomes. So I think that there is a lot of attention being spent on the space right now, but I think that's good. I think this is transformative. I think it is disruptive. And so now is the time to make some investment and figure out where we go. Do some planning, like I said, get that broader education. Within Experian, I'm leading efforts to train not just our technologists, but also the business leaders. This is going to be important as we make those cost trade-off decisions in the future.
Mm-hmm. Marc, Thomas, do you have any thoughts on
Yeah, I think it's hard to say where costs will go. I mean, in some cases, costs may go down. I think in other cases, costs may stay the same or actually go up, but the return on investment may be higher.
Right.
And at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to achieve, is how can we get a higher return on investment, recognizing that costs for different reasons may go up. As in developing our various programs, we go back to the agile, the DevOps kind of approach. We want to get solutions out there, get pieces of the solution out there as fast as possible, test them, work them. Some will fail, some will work, but at least we don't wait to finish a monolithic piece and say, okay, was this fit for purpose? So it's really about moving quite fast, knowing that some will succeed a bit more than the others, or fail. But ultimately, what we were trying to drive is our return on investment. And if we get costs down as well,
I want to add on to that because I think that the ways of working is hugely important. Because the thing is, like this is a technology that's not mature. I think where it will get us, what the end state is ambiguous or unclear. And I mean, like agile people have a field day, like because that's exactly, like how you tackle these type of problems. And that's how like very similar to what Marc and Kathleen said, that this is how we tackling it as well. And actually looking in a very different way, like if a good colleague of mine keeps saying, like if it's good enough today, it's good enough to try, like, and then if you take it further, don't try, just do. I mean, there is no anarchy around, there has to be some governance and some guardrails. I heard the speaker before talk about the guardrails, hugely important. But I think this is all about, like try, set it up in an environment where people can actually explore, can test, can iterate, like because there's a continuous loop of learning. So we see already significant return on investment. If you look at our OpenReach arm, like that builds networks, the fiber network, which some of you might have heard, like we're putting in the ground in this beautiful country. We're saving tens of millions of pounds each year by using AI and actually equipping our engineers before they go to an appointment or actually dig something up. They have geographical information at their fingertips, that's pulled of all kind of different sources, like from the internet. And it's a huge health and safety topic as well. So it keeps also our engineers on the road safe. If you look how we are actually in some of our B2B business, in how we engage with customers and how we make sure the solutions we bring to customers are addressing their problems, is AI driven. Or some of you, and some of you will, because EE is the biggest network, like a mobile network in the UK. Like you might have already have experienced with Amy, which we're testing out, which is our chatbot, which is supported with AI. Like try it. You won't see the difference. It's quite rewarding.